Welcome to Wine Road, the wine, when, and where of Northern Sonoma County. I'm your host, Marcy Gordon, with Beth Costa, Executive Director of the Wine Road.
Thanks to Ron Rubin, we're able to keep our podcast rolling along. The financial support of River Road Family Vineyards and Winery allows us to keep recording, keep sipping wine, and keep sharing stories with our listeners. Check out their website at riverroadvineyards.com and explore their Chardonnay, as well as a finely crafted Pinot Noir from the Russian River Valley. That's riverroadvineyards.com. And hey, thanks, Ron, for allowing us to make this show happen.
Welcome to episode 207. Today our guest is the myth, the legend, the patron saint of our podcast, and possibly the world's most interesting man, Ron Rubin.
Wow.
Yes.
Welcome,
Exactly.
Ron.
Thank you.
He's the owner of River Road Family Vineyards and Winery, and he's here today to tell us all about his really fascinating past and present. But first, we want to talk about the wine of the day that Ron brought us.
Yeah, this is like a throwdown. I want to see somebody top this.
Yeah. So, Ron doesn't do anything in small, lowercase.
No. Yeah.
And we always have our guests bring a wine of the day. And Ron comes in and goes, grab your glasses, let's go outside. And we're thinking, what? And we go outside, and there is Ed Morris, winemaker, with a pickup truck with a barrel of Pinot Meunier. And emphasis on the yay.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. We literally barrel tasted in the driveway of the studio here with Ed explaining it. I took a little video that we'll post later, him explaining the wine. And it was just awesome. That was the most exciting wine of the day we've ever had, Ron.
Great.
And Richard's like, oh my gosh, I love this job.
Where can I buy it?
Yes.
That was a great way to start the day. And that wine, it is really incredibly good. So you'd said it was going to be bottled in a couple of weeks, maybe?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. I am thrilled. I think when people are coming wine tasting, they're looking for something different, and this just nails it on the head. That was amazing.
I was trying to guess it before they told us what it was. I said, well, it smells like a Pinot. Kind of makes me feel like Gamay, but I'm not quite sure. I wasn't really hitting the nail on the head because you don't see a lot of this varietal or this variety in the area. And because, as you said, it's usually made into sparkling wine. But it's so delicious.
Well, thank you.
Thank you
we're
for making
excited.
it.
Yeah, and so we did get a little photo of what the bottle is going to look like, and it is like this beautiful, as you said, Tiffany blue label that's going to be on the front. It is beautiful, and I love that you have what it tastes like and what it sounds like, how to pronounce the name. That is really a great idea. With
Yes.
most
Thank
wines,
you.
that's a really
Pinot
great idea.
Meunier.
Yeah, super
For
good.
sure.
Okay, so I think that we have talked about Ron Rubin and Ron Rubin Winery and River Road Vineyards and how you've been the sponsor of our podcast for years now. But to have you in the studio, I mean, this is the first time I've felt like nervous and excited.
Me too.
I'm so excited Ron is going to be in the studio. But so I think the first time that I met you, we really talked about your journey, how it started, and your vision years ago for being involved in the wine business. So let's hear that the story, the history. We want to know.
Before I start the history, I do want to take time to congratulate both of you for 200 podcasts. I think that is just fantastic. And I would like to tell you a little story. I think your listeners would like it, but I have a couple some more gifts for you.
All right. Thank you, Ron.
This is the guest of the day.
Yeah. But let me start with this story. This was in 2017, so about, 7 years ago. And a friend of mine knew that I am a big Dodger fan, Los Angeles Dodger fan. And he is a San Francisco Giant fan and has season tickets. And he called me up and said, Ron, would you like to go to the Dodger-Giant game? And I said, for sure. So we're driving to the stadium. Now, this is 2017, 7 years ago. And he asked me while we're driving to the stadium, what podcasts do you listen to? And I looked at him and I said, what is a podcast?
I know that feeling.
He says, well, I'll show you when we get to the stadium. So we get to the stadium, he pulls out his phone, and he teaches me all about podcasts. And he says to me, which one would you like? You can pick out pick out a topic. Well, I said, well, the topic's got to be wine. And I think it needs to be something in Sonoma County because, that's where our winery is. And so up pops up Wine Road.
Yay!
That
So
is so great.
it's the first podcast I have ever had.
Oh
It's
my
the
gosh.
first podcast I put on my phone.
Oh my!
And I start listening to both of you. And I think it was right around episode 28 when I started.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And being new to Sonoma County, I learned so much from both of you. It was just excellent.
Oh, thank you.
And the production and the quality. I started listening to other podcasts, and I couldn't believe how poorly they were to listen to and how wonderful the Wine Road is to listen to. So Richard's
I
doing
would say
a
that's
wonderful
a shout out to
Shout
Richard.
to Richard.
shout out to Richard.
It's lucky for us you were listening to episode 28
Yeah.
because that's after we started working here at the
Yeah.
studio.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was just fantastic. And so, I had heard of Beth because of Wine Road, and we were a member of the Wine Road. And in the same year, 2017, we started a program called Train for Saving Lives, which I'll give you some more details about later. But I called Beth and asked her if she would help us kick this off with her wineries that were members, which she did. And then I'm going to fast forward to 2021. Now, we all know what happened in 2020 besides the fires
Yeah.
with COVID, and everything was a little difficult. And it happened on May the 20th of 2021. I checked my email, and it says, "Hi, Ron," and it's from Beth. "I'm reaching out today with a proposal for your winery to sponsor our Wine Road podcast."
A fortuitous
He's going to make me
email.
start crying here on my own show.
And so, I read this letter and I write her back and I tell her right away, yes, we want to sponsor. I couldn't believe it. It was such a wonderful invitation and it's something that we wanted to do. And I loved your podcast.
There's no
By the
crying
way-
in podcasts, Beth.
By the way, if this was a wine competition, you all would win double gold, best of show. And so I write her back and tell her yes. And she writes me back, and this is what she says.
No.
"This is the best email I have had in a year. Thank you so much. I'm calling Marcy and our recording studio. We're back."
That's so amazing.
And
Yes.
For your listeners, that's how the story started. And it's been wonderful. I think the last 3 years we've been the sponsor, going on our 4th year. And as long as I want to commit, as long as you two and Richard are doing the Wine Road podcast, we're in for being your sponsor. So,
Thank you, Ron. You float our boat.
okay. Anyway, so that's the backstory how we got started together.
That was amazing. I remember sending the email and thinking, this is definitely a shot in the dark, and I'm sure that Ron will mull this over, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks or so I'll hear back. And you wrote back to me probably in 10 minutes. I mean, I just thought, I cannot believe this is happening because everything that had happened had been terrible for so long. It was amazing. Yay.
So that's the first story. I'll answer your question now about my path, if you like. I'll go back to 1971, a long time ago, 1971.
Only yesterday, yes.
Yeah, I was 22 years old, and my family had a wholesale wine and liquor business in Southern Illinois. And my dad had a friend who worked for Paul Masson Wines, if you can
Oh, yeah.
remember Paul
Yeah.
Masson
Yeah, that's been a while.
Wine. And he suggested to my dad, I was at the time attending the University of Illinois in Champaign, and I was preparing for my senior year in college. And he suggested to my dad that if Ron is going to go into this family wholesale wine, liquor, beer business, that he should go to the University of California at Davis and study viticulture and enology. So that summer, July of 1971, he arranged a meeting for me at Davis with the head of the department at that time, Maynard Amarine, and he was just world class. And I found out that I could go to Davis and take a number of wine classes. And so I came back home in July, from my first trip to California, 22 years old, first trip to California. And my parents asked me, well, what did you think of Davis? I said, well, I enrolled in Davis, I found an apartment, and I'm driving to California.
Oh, my God.
And I did it. So I was at Davis from 1971 to 72. And then I started working with my dad in 1972, and we worked together for 17 years till he passed away in 1989. And when I was out at Davis learning about viticulture and enology and the wine business, I just fell in love. I mean, it was just so wonderful. And I knew what I was learning I could take back to our distributorship, our family distributorship, and help us grow the wine business. And back in 71, 72, there weren't a lot of wineries in Napa nor Sonoma.
Yeah.
No.
Why not?
And so you could probably name all the wineries on Napa, but I remember the first wine that really got me excited was from Chapelet, and it was their Chenin Blanc. It was just like, I had never tasted anything like this in my life. And then, of course, Heights Cellars had a wine called Grinolino, and then Stony Hill had a Riesling.
All the icons of the
Yeah.
valley.
And Robert Mondavi was there with his Fumé Blanc.
Yes.
And it was just so exciting. So
I mean, that was such an exciting time in the wine industry, it was really just starting to begin.
It was just starting,
And with
yeah.
all these now icons of the industry,
right.
as are you.
Oh, well, thank you. And then in 71, in New Year's Eve, I had my first date with my wife, Pam, and she came out to visit me in March of 1972, and she fell in love with Northern California just like I fell in love with Northern California. And in that 1971 time, I had a dream of someday I'd love to have a vineyard and winery in California. One of my classmates that I was really jealous of, I don't think I've told him that, but it was David Stair.
Oh, my gosh.
And David was talking about Sonoma County. I'm going to Sonoma. Nobody wanted to go to Sonoma County. I think the only thing I knew about Sonoma County was Italian Swiss colony.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was a big deal.
It was a big deal. And so David was talking about how he was going to open up a winery in Sonoma County,
That's
which
amazing.
he did
Yes.
in 1972.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went back and worked with my dad, and that's how it kind of started for me. I worked for my dad for 17 years till he passed away in 1989. And then the wholesale business was going through a lot of consolidation at the time, and we weren't going to be statewide in Illinois. And so I looked for other opportunities. And when I was out here in California on a trip, I was looking in the water section, and I saw this brand called Clearly Canadian.
Oh, yeah.
And from Vancouver, British Columbia. It just introduced in California. And I contacted them in 1990, and we became their master licensee for about 6 states in the Midwest.
Wow.
And by 1992, in our distributorship, we had sold over 3.4 million cases of Clearly Canadian.
That was such a big deal.
And we would have been the 10th largest winery in California at the time. And so that was Clearly Canadian. And then I have a passion for reading. I picked up a book in 1994 about these two entrepreneurs that wanted to start a specialty tea company. One of the entrepreneurs, him and his wife, Mel and Patricia Ziegler, had founded the Banana Republic clothing store, and they had sold that to the Gap, Don Fisher, and the other entrepreneur was Bill Rosenzweig, and they decided to create a specialty tea company. Well, what are we going to call it? Banana Republic? Let's call it the Republic of Tea. And I read the book, and in the book they talked about we need to find somebody in the beverage business that could do a bottled tea And when I read that, I said, that's me.
There
hand
I
went up.
am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so I contacted them. I had this ideal to do a bottled tea like bottled wine.
Yes.
Right.
You know, unsweetened, all natural, right pH, right acidity. And so they liked the idea. And then I got a call from them, and they said, we've decided now we're going to sell the company.
Oh my gosh.
And if you're interested, and which I told them I would be interested as a equity partner in there. And they said, if you're interested, let us know. Well, I did let them know. And the company was 22 months old, and
Oh
I
my gosh.
ended up buying the Republic of Tea.
It's an amazing brand. One of my favorite things to buy when I
Thank
am
you.
buying tea.
So our bottled teas came out in 1997, and we're still out in the marketplace selling our bottled teas now. And our son Todd is running the Republic of Tea. He's the Minister of Evolution. He's the president.
I love
of the
these titles.
And the Republic of Tea is special, whimsical little country. We have our own language with our employees are ministers, our brokers are ambassadors, our customers have embassies. And what we try to do is enrich people's lives through premium tea and herbs, education, and innovation. So that was what I did most of my career up until 2009. I'm trying to get there as fast as I can.
It's amazing because these are all iconic brands that people would know, like the Clearly Canadian. I mean, I still get excited when I see that.
And so in 2009, I turned 60 years old, and I decided I was going to run my 8th marathon. I had run 7 before, and I was training for my 8th marathon. That was going to be the Twin Cities Marathon up at St. Paul, Minneapolis. And it was the day of Labor Day. I had just finished 20 miles, my last big training run. I had finished 20 miles the day before, and our son Todd and I were having breakfast, and we finished breakfast. We're walking to our condo in Tiburon. I had a sensation come over my body I had never experienced in my life. I knew I wasn't having a heart attack, but it was like my whole body was just asleep, frozen. You know how your arms
Like numb.
numb,
Yeah.
you know. And Todd didn't panic. He called 911, and the ambulance got to us in time and rushed me to Meunier General Hospital at the time. And I was, my heart rate was racing, and it was racing to the tune of 237 beats.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was having what was called a ventricular tachycardia. And the only way that they could save my life at Meunier General Hospital was to shock me with a defibrillator.
Oh.
And of course, it worked.
Yeah. Or you have a wonderful imposter here.
And they told me I needed heart surgery. And so we live in St. Louis half the year, and most of my doctors are back in St. Louis. So my wife and I flew back to St. Louis on a medical plane, and we get back on a Friday at Barnes Jewish Hospital in St. Louis, and I have heart surgery on Monday. And from Friday to Monday, you only think about one thing, and that's dying.
Oh, yeah.
And it just scared us to death. And, you know, I talked to my wife and I said, you know, I've had a wonderful life. I'm 60 years old. And, you know, the children, we have 2 children, a daughter, Julie, our son, Todd. Everything's been beautiful, except there's one thing that I haven't done in my life. I always dreamed about having a vineyard and winery in California. So I'm getting close. I'm getting close.
I can't go.
Well, that's the power to keep you alive. That's
And so
the
I said,
life force of wine.
So if I make it through this heart surgery on Monday, I'm going to start looking for a
my
vineyard
gosh.
and winery in California. And so I make it through on Monday, and they tell me they couldn't find the location of the problem, and they thought the best thing to do would be go back for another heart surgery on Tuesday, and we're going to plant an implantable cardiac defibrillator in your body.
oh, yeah.
Wow.
And if your heart takes off, you're going to get shocked by this defibrillator to get you back into rhythm.
Right.
So I had to go back in a second time to get my implantable cardio defibrillator, ICD device, which I have in me right now. And I started looking, and I knew I wanted to look either in Napa or Sonoma, but personally, Napa is a little Hollywood for me, and Sonoma is country.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. Good description.
And I love Sonoma, so I found a agent, John Bergman, who lived in Forestville, and we started looking at properties, and lo and behold, there was a property for sale, River Road Family Vineyards and Winery. And on December 20th of 2011, I purchased River Road Family Vineyard and Winery. I dreamed about this in 1971.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
So it was my 40-year dream.
Oh,
Okay.
never let go of
That
your
answers your
dreams.
first
But I mean,
question.
that's the thing. I mean, how many people have that kind of a dream? I mean, I think most people just go through life,
Well,
without a.
But it's also, you have a very clear vision, It's one thing to have a dream, but also to enact upon
Well, yeah,
it,
how to work towards it. Right.
I'm so happy this dream came true for
Thank
you
you very
because
much.
it makes all of our lives
It's
better.
inspiring. Yeah.
the interesting thing, when I was looking at the property, I was driving up on 116, through Sebastopol, and we lived at the time in Mount Vernon, Illinois, and I see this road sign. I don't know if you've ever seen it right before Sebastopol on 116, Mount Vernon Road. I could not believe it. I saw it
That's
this
a
morning.
sign, yeah.
I think of my mom and dad
Yeah.
every time I go by
Right.
there. And then the winery, River Road. That's double R.
Exactly.
Ron Rubin, that's double R. And then the address is Ross Road.
Your life is just one synchronicity after another.
And we're in the Russian River.
Russian River. Oh my gosh. Bye.
So I thought I was
All the
getting a lot of
signs.
good signs.
I would
Yeah.
say so. I never put that all together, all
Right.
the double R's.
I know.
Wow. You need a railroad next.
I think the Mount Vernon Road is really something. Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
It's so
So-
great that you're in Sebastopol, too.
Yeah, we
What-
love
just
it.
because
Lovely
Marcy's in
location. Yes,
Sebastopol.
I'm in
Yeah.
We
Sebastopol.
love it.
It is beautiful. It's a nice neighborhood of wineries out there. So tell us, you have River Road Family Vineyards and Ron Rubin Winery and Blue Bin. So tell us about each of them.
Okay. Well, we've changed the name from Ron Rubin Winery. We started that because we weren't selling River Road in Sonoma County. It was a brand that we work with a very large customer, Total Wine and More, and they didn't have a location in Sonoma, and now they do, which is great. And so we've changed the name from Ron Rubin Winery to River Road Family Vineyards and Winery. So we're coming back to where we started
full
at.
circle.
And so if you want to buy some River Road wines, just in Santa Rosa, Total Wine and More.
That's a beautiful store.
Yeah, it's a beautiful store, and they're a wonderful, wonderful customer of ours, and we have a great relationship with them. And so we also decided to sell wine everywhere else in the country, and we needed a brand. And every brand name I could think of, someone had already thought about it when we went to
It
try
is
to
complicated.
register.
Right.
And so I was working with our designer, and he says, well, why don't you just call it Ron Rubin? And I said, well, I'm not a winemaker. He says, yeah, but you're a winery owner. And so we sent it in for registration, and guess what? Nobody had the name Ron Rubin. So we registered it. So we have our Ron Rubin wines, which are Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Those are our two bread and butter wines. And then my wife wasn't very happy that I bought a winery with Pinot Noir and Chardonnay because she wasn't really a Chardonnay lover. She didn't like that buttery, oaky flavor, and so we created a wine for her. It came out as River Road in the beginning, and then we also created her own wine, Pam's Unoaked Chardonnay.
One of my
Yeah,
favorites.
I've had a lot of that.
I love
And
that.
she designed the label and the capsule, and It just, so we sell that.
The label is so cool.
Thank you. So we sell that everywhere in the country. And then, going through sustainability and trying to see how we could do something different and innovate. Like I said, the Republic of Tea is all about enriching people's lives through premium tea and herbs, education and innovation. Well, that was really, all I had to do is change one word for the winery, take the word tea out, put the word wine in. And so we're all about education and innovation also, and selling premium wine. And so one of the things that we've done through my career is try to innovate. And that's how we've tried to grow our business. And, it's more difficult in the wine world to innovate than it is in the tea world. It just takes so much longer time. And so we looked at some alternative packaging, and we found a wonderful partner in Amcor to make this wonderful, exciting bottle. And it's made from 100% recyclable plastic. So what we're using is plastic that's being used again.
Right.
For something, and it's a bottle. We have a protective coat inside the bottle, a product called Plasmax that's recyclable. So the wine never hits the plastic. It's a glass-like coating inside. And once you're finished with the bottle, you can recycle it again.
Yeah.
So it's like a circular economy. And we hope, when you look at the carbon footprint of glass bottles, it's so high, and, it's pretty much discussed now that, how do wineries reduce their carbon footprint? Mm-hmm. And our bottle of Blue Bin weighs 52 grams.
It's unbelievable.
We were at your winery one day, and you did this great experiment where there was a box, a typical wine carry box that holds about 6 bottles. And you said, pick up that box and tell me how many bottles do you think are in it? And I'm like, I don't know, 1, 2. And there were 6 bottles in this carrier. And it was such a great object lesson to realize the weight of glass versus these bottles. And it's also another great design. Mm-hmm. Your iconography and all the graphics and all your products are so wonderful. But the wine is great.
Thank you.
And so, Beth's a big fan of the
wine is a staple in my house.
I got another quick story for you. So I'm listening to episode 200. Okay? I thought it was brilliant that you asked Richard to come on and be the guest.
It was fun.
That was fun. I learned from. And during the episode, you mentioned we're going to bring our favorite wines, and we're going to, surprise everybody with our favorite wines.
Yeah, so we didn't tell each other.
So Beth starts with her favorite wine, and I'm there listening. I'm saying, and then Richard tells his favorite wine, and then and I'm thinking, And all of a sudden, Marcy says, I have a bottle of Blue Bin Pinot Grigio from that Ron. And, a couple tears start coming out of my eyes. And so I don't have to tell you about the wine. You can be ourselves.
Those wines are delicious. They're low to medium alcohol. They're all the types of wines you want to drink in the summer, but also winter. Especially in the summer, there's all the places you want to go, and you can't bring a bottle.
Can't go.
And I've introduced more people to Blue Bin than probably only any other wine.
I feel the same way. I was just back at my daughter's on the East Coast, and she had a case that I had brought back there last time I went, so I was drinking it back in New Jersey.
Oh, great.
I am a big fan for all those reasons. It is just nice and light, and in the summer, it's a perfect thing. Out on the patio, it's not glass. It's perfect.
Thank you.
It's a winner.
I'm
a
glad
winner
I
in my
brought
book.
a good tear to your eye.
You did.
And everyone it was very funny because none of us spoke to each other about what we were bringing. And I'm like, I know what I'm bringing.
So your wines are distributed really everywhere. I mean, I feel like I've found them in lots of restaurants, but you can't come. You don't have a tasting room in Sonoma County, so people are just buying direct.
That's correct. I looked at that, having a tasting room, and I realized it's a separate business. It's a retail business. I've been a wholesale person all my life,
Right.
and I just I don't have the experience, and I'm a wholesaler, and so just kind of put my focus on, and we are by appointment only. If you would like to come, we're only open Monday through Friday. We're closed on the weekends. I don't want anybody to work on the weekends. And we have a little bit of time on Friday where we have appointments, and we're old school. It's either Ed, our winemaker, or Will, our assistant winemaker, that will take you through whatever, a tasting. And the charge on the tasting is no charge.
Oh.
So,
Which is amazing.
do you remember that when it was no charge?
No.
Wow.
I mean,
You don't remember
it's
that,
been
huh?
20 years
Just
ago.
the- You should charge just for people to see the beautiful
I
building.
was just going to say, just talk
Oh,
about, you should
thank
talk
you.
about that building.
Ron has created an amazing, it's like a Shangri-La of wine, and it's all with the principles of feng
Feng
shui.
shui.
And just, I always feel like I'm in a spa. It is so relaxing. It
Well,
is the
thank you.
everything you've incorporated, all those principles. It's so, you feel it. It's so integrated.
That's great.
Boy.
Thank you. A beautiful experience in Sonoma County.
It is.
is.
It's I think if you're going to make an appointment, it would be, you get to taste the wine, but being in the atmosphere is just as much of a bonus.
Oh, great. Thank you.
I agree. So, you did tell the story of the heart problems that you've had. And so when we connected, it was about this Train for Saving Lives program that you started. And I think it's just beyond belief what you have done for the community. And so I think you should talk about that program, tell people what that is, and how many wineries at this point are involved, because it's some big numbers.
Thank you. One of the things that going through sustainability requirements and looking at other wineries, I realized that most of the wineries had not trained their staff on CPR, how to do CPR, and they didn't have an automated external defibrillator, an AED. And so I was able to have a meeting with the American Red Cross and Zoll Medico, who makes the AED. They came to the winery and we talked about our program. And birth came out in 2017, and we decided that our winery would donate 450 defibrillators. That's what we committed to, because at the time there were 450 wineries in Sonoma County. And I thought, wow, Sonoma County will be the safest county to visit anywhere, and that we would train, the winery staff, or American Red Cross would train the winery staff on CPR and how to use an AED, because when an individual has sudden cardiac arrest, the only way you're going to save their life is through CPR and having an AED. And I don't know if you recall, about a year ago, Monday Night Football,
Yes.
there was a player, Damar Hamlin, that collapsed, and they performed CPR and had an AED and saved his life. And so we started down that path, and Beth was there at the beginning in 2017 to try to get her membership. And I think today we have about 53 members that have wineries that have our AEDs that have gone through CPR training. In Sonoma County, we have 156 wineries.
That's extraordinary.
In Sonoma County. And in the whole program right now, we have 378. So we expanded the program to anywhere in the United States for any winery. We have wineries in Nebraska that I never knew about, and Washington State and Oregon that have joined the program. And we've trained over 1,800 winery staff.
Wow.
In CPR and first aid. And the goal, again, is 450. So I'm trying to find 72 more wineries out there to give them free AED that's about $1,700 value.
Yeah, it's an amazing program. And
Yeah.
when you first approached me about doing it, I thought, well, sure, I can spread the news about this and try to get members on board. But then I emailed and said, what is the impetus? Like, why are you doing this? This is a huge amount of money, and it's a lot of work coordinating. And so you did tell me about the your heart problems, and that's what started that.
Mm-hmm.
And you also mentioned, which I thought was really just amazing to hear, you see that as part of sustainability and making everyone safe, and that's part. And I thought that is a really great way to look at it,
and an extension of hospitality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But which brings me to the point of a B corporation,
Yes.
which is, I don't think people really realize what an astounding thing a B corporation is and how hard it is to achieve it. But those principles are really, they're a Ron Rubin kind of creed.
Absolutely.
And so it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense that your company is a B corporation.
Well, thank you so much. It's interesting because for me, that started back in the 1970s. I became a fan of Patagonia.
Oh,
I got my Patagonia
Yes.
vest on. I
They're
think I have a
amazing.
Patagonia
Yeah.
shirt. And that's where I first learned about becoming a certified B corporation. And the 5 pillars are, the environment, taking care of your workers, your governance, the customers, and the community. And so that's what you're scored upon. And you have to score over 80 points. And it took us about 651 days. We started in October of 2020. And on August the 5th of 2022, we became certified. And there's 4,000 wineries, I think, in the state of California today, and there's only about 6 of us that are certified
Yeah.
B corporations.
It's
a very small
really,
group.
it's an
And-
amazing achievement.
And when we became certified in August of 2022, they do tell you that you have to go through recertification every
yeah.
3 years.
Oh my gosh.
So we're in the process of going through our recertification, but it's all about continuous improvement.
Right.
Exactly. So it's not just get it once and rest on your
Yeah.
laurels.
That's correct.
And that's what makes it so special and so important that
Yeah,
it's
meaningful.
continual education, continual improvement. And that's just a testament to you
Well,
really,
thank you.
and the staff.
And so there are about 30 wineries worldwide back in August of 2022. Today, there's about 50.
Ooh, but still.
And
That's just
And-
nothing. Yeah.
we're in good company because the newest winery, believe it or not, to get certified is a winery called Chateau Lafite Rothschild.
Oh my gosh.
I've heard of that.
They just became a certified B
Oh,
corporation.
wow.
I was surprised,
Yeah.
but I was happily
That's
surprised.
so excellent.
Yeah.
So,
And Sonoma County has a lot of certified B corporations that are non-winery in the county.
so it's interesting because it seems like so much of what you've done started with something that you've read, like your Republic of Tea people, and you read their book and became interested in that. So reading is important to you, and so that has inspired you, I believe, to write a book.
It sure has. So I've started this project a couple years ago, and what I wanted to do was to, every year I pick out something that I've learned along the way. And so I have like my lessons, and it's just a kind of a hobby to think about something, One year it was called podcasts. I learned all about podcasts. This past year in 2023, I learned all about Chat GPT.
Oh, boy.
Oh yeah.
And how to use that. And that's another story, how we're using it at the winery now. But I had this desire to write a book, and a gentleman in Napa is working with me, and we have finished the book. We're going to get it printed this fall or in the wintertime, and the hardback copy will come out in the spring of 2025.
Oh, how exciting.
So we're excited about that, and the book, we finally came up with the title of the book, and the title is Heart to Heart,
Oh, perfect.
And it kind of takes after, of a heart-to-heart conversation. And so the book is me having a conversation with the reader and trying to tell them a lot of the lessons that I've learned, and hopefully it'll be great for young entrepreneurs
I'm
or
sure.
anyone that would read.
And it is based on 50 principles that you really code your business and life by.
Yes. And so I'd love to read one of the lessons.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to read the book. So
Sneak
yeah,
preview.
one lesson, definitely.
Okay. So I guess I'll tell you what the title of this lesson is. The title of lesson 23 is Women. They Rule.
I like it already.
When I was growing up in southern Illinois, the business world was dominated by men. And that was especially true in my father's domain, the wholesale wine and liquor business. At that time, there were almost no women in the liquor business. Companies big and small were run mostly by men, and there was a general belief that women didn't belong in the liquor business. And that was the way my dad operated too. I wanted to change that. After my father passed away, I vowed to do things differently in our distribution company. Soon we had a regional position open for a salesperson to call on restaurants. And we found a woman candidate, Shirley Watson. I knew that hiring a woman would create a stir in our company and in the industry, but I went ahead and hired Shirley anyway. And she was fantastic. She could sell. Our clients loved her. Shirley understood our products, how to make them appealing, and how to build warm, lasting relationships with our partners. And right there, I made a fundamental shift in our hiring practices. When we made the leap into the bottled water business with Clearly Canadian, I hired women to be our regional salespeople. And again, those women did a marvelous job. They were quick learners, wonderful listeners, and they had just the right ability to connect with our customers and sell our water. And what an education they were giving to me. Naturally then, when I bought the Republic of Tea, the first person I hired was a brilliant graphic designer named Gina Amador. Through Gina and others on the staff, I learned that the majority of the people who were buying our teas were women. And Gina showed me how she used color and the design of our labels and packaging to appeal to those women shoppers. Thankfully to Shirley and Gina, I was learning a magnificent lesson. Women, they rule. From there, I became absolutely bullish about putting women into key leadership roles, and the results have been dazzling. Today at the Republic of Tea production plant in Nashville, Illinois, our manager, Melissa Meador, she manages our staff of 150 people. Likewise, at our winery, we are blessed to have Diane DeRoma, our general manager.
She's awesome.
With her MBA and her many years of experience, Diane keeps us all on our toes, and we have several women serving as our regional managers, and they do a terrific job too. Today, I can't say it loud enough. Women, they rule.
That's great.
Good segment, too.
I certainly hope you'll have an audiobook part too, because your voice and reading your words is just perfect.
So I hope so too. Are you going to do an audiobook?
I haven't thought about
You should do
that.
it right here.
Okay. Yeah, Richard's like, yeah, do it here. You just have the voice that you want. It's easy, so easy to listen to.
I think
thank
your
you so
words
much.
and your voice, that's
Yes.
very powerful.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we're excited about the book.
Yeah, I am too.
Okay, let's see. What else do we need to talk about, Ron? I think that people need to know all that they can know about you because you've been such an amazing supporter for us. You still live in St. Louis part of the year, so you're only here partially?
Yeah, we're here we come out June 1st to November 1st, of course, during the harvest and the growing season. And then I usually come out maybe once a week, every month, once a week,
Yeah.
just in between time. We spend time in Florida and we spend time in St. Louis. So I recently learned about a new program in Sonoma County, if you don't mind me telling you
Yes,
about it.
I'd love to know.
So I was introduced by two people you know. Mary Edwards was one, and John Belletto was the
Oh,
second
yeah.
person. And through Providence Memorial Hospital, their foundation, they're trying to, the program is focused on attracting and retaining new physicians
Yeah.
through a multi-year repayment agreement. Most of these physicians that are new, they have so much debt
Yes.
that they've accumulated during their educational process.
Right.
And in Sonoma County, we need so many new physicians.
Yes, it's really difficult for people. And even, it's like a hub for as far as Eureka. People come
yeah.
to Santa Rosa, and then mostly you have to go to San Francisco.
And they introduced me to Rebecca Kendall, and she is the chief officer of this program. And so we're going to participate. We're really hopeful that we can attract some physicians to Sonoma County. I think it's a wonderful program.
That's fantastic.
And then another program that we've been participating in for a number of years, I will tell you a little kind of interesting story. My dad, when I worked with him, he would always use the expression, there's gold, G-O-L-D, in your backyard. All you have to do is dig deep enough. And I think you two struck gold right here with Richard.
Boy, did
And-
we ever.
Yes.
No kidding.
And where was it? Right in your
I
own
know.
Totally, yeah.
backyard.
So
Can you
true.
believe that? And so when I bought the winery, we wanted to do something with a partner, a nonprofit partner, if we could. And so I was driving around. I was in Forestville, and I go past this building. It's called Food for Thought. And I meet Ron Karp, the director, and it was just kind of a match made between our winery and Food for Thought that we've supported. And I think we've pretty close to $200,000 that we've donated to
That's
Food
wonderful.
for Thought. And I think they do a marvelous job.
They do an
here.
amazing job, definitely.
And especially those that need nutritional balance meals. And our team volunteers every Friday. We send someone there to work in
my
the food
gosh.
bank. And it's just been a great partnership.
That's the thing. I think that I wish there was a better way for us to express to the visitors that come to this area how much the wineries collectively in this area give back to the community. I mean, it is astounding that not only the dollar amount, but like you said, you send a volunteer. I mean, people give a lot of themselves to the community here from the wine industry. It's impressive. So with all the wines you have, do you have a favorite?
Do I have a favorite? Oh, well, I'm a Pinot Noir guy.
You
so,
are?
Yeah, I love Pinot. And so, but I love them all. They taste wonderful.
When Marcy and I, it's been a couple of years now, we're in Texas together, and we got in kind of late, went to a restaurant, not much open, and on the wine list there was Ron Rubin Pinot. We're like, well, we're having
We
that.
got that. That's the first thing we
It was
ordered.
like, that's
great.
cool. Yeah, love a burger and some great Pinot. It was fun.
We can put a link to the winery in the show notes so people can order wine. And then how will they know about the book? Can we link to, is there a link? Will it be off the website, or is there a special site that people can learn and where to order?
Well, I know it's going to be on Amazon,
Okay.
but and I'm sure we're going to have it from the winery. But some of those questions we haven't answered yet.
Okay.
So, well, when
But
it
when it
is
comes
available,
out, we'll make it
Well,
a book of the
thank
day
you.
on the
Yeah.
podcast
Oh,
and
that'd
Heart
be
to
fun.
Heart. That would be fun. We could revisit it at that time.
and boy, you really, really do have to do the audiobook. You
Okay.
have to do the audiobook.
But before we finish, I just want to congratulate you all again.
Oh, thank you, Ron.
I've learned so much from listening to your podcast. I hope other listeners understand and appreciate how valuable it is. I'm going to give you one little quick example. You had Carol Shelton on a few weeks ago or whenever, and I love listening to her stories. And she started talking about Hungarian barrels.
Right.
Okay. I knew nothing about Hungarian barrels. I didn't even know they made barrels from Hungary.
Yeah, the different oak and how
And
different parts of the country have
it was
different grain.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so I went back and I talked to Ed Morris, who's also a cooper, and of course he knew everything about Hungarian barrels. But it was just, I learned so much. It's just, and I wish you'd do it every week, but
Oh boy.
every other week I'll settle for every other week. Your podcast, but I listen to them. I'm your biggest fan.
I love hearing from when people do tell us about the shows that they've liked and who they listen to. And I love when I talk to people who say they've gone to places that they heard, like, and I get emails on a regular basis. People coming out, they come on a regular basis and they're coming again and they're going to go to the newest places that they just heard about on the show. So, it is funny when you're just sitting in a studio talking, but then when you do get feedback and you think, okay, people are listening and they did write to me and they are going to go to these places. It's fun.
Richard has a great story. He was on a ferry going to Victoria from Seattle, and someone on the ferry was listening to the podcast.
Wow.
He heard it, and it was like, wow. And we said, well, did you say something? He goes, no, I didn't say anything. But like, what? How random and how amazing is that? That, people are out there. We're so grateful for our audience, too. So thank you for listening. And thank you, Ron, for helping us bring it to the ears of the people.
Well, it's absolutely totally beyond thank you to Ron, because in 2021, this was going to be the end of the show. And I told Richard that, couldn't go on. We couldn't afford to keep doing the show. And I told Marcy and had to break it to her. And then Ron came to our rescue. And here we are, still going.
Here we are.
And 3 Taste Awards later, we've won. We've even been... We're in the Taste Hall of Fame for the podcast, which is kind of crazy, but cool.
That's great.
So,
fun.
Yeah, it's fun, and we're just so thankful for your support. And I know you listen to every show, and I'm so glad I brought my blue bin for that wine of the day.
So am I.
Well, nothing's going to top the way we start our show with a barrel in the back of a truck in the driveway.
This will be the wine of the day that goes down in history.
And we have some pictures to prove
Oh
it.
yeah, this will be great. Wait till you see. And I took a nice little short video of Ed describing, the process and the wine, and so we'll be putting that in the show notes too. And yeah, it's never a dull moment with you. That's for sure.
Thank you so much.
That's the thing. Yeah, you go big. This was awesome. Thank you so much. It just made my day. I can't believe you have the email from when I reached out to you. Made me cry.
We really wanted to have Ron on the 200th episode, but he couldn't make it. So this is our cheers to 200 and further.
Yeah,
and thank you so much for being here.
This was great.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the wine road.